Hello, this is Dr. Burns, and welcome to Becoming Your Authentic Self, Webinar 1. So, hi everyone, I'm Dr. Burns from Burns Integrative Wellness Center, and we are doing our first webinar on being stuck. So, have you ever thought of, well, why do I keep doing this all over again? Why do I keep following the same routine? Why can't I seem to change? Why is it that I only go so far and then I go back into old routines? As soon as I'm stressed, something else comes different. I keep trying to get rid of sugar, but every time I'm stressed, I'm back eating it. So why is it that whenever my tire goes flat, I still get mad? And react as if the world is coming to an end. I don't want to do that anymore. So we are going to go through and talk about why this seems to happen to all of us and what we can do to change it. So we are going to be exploring through these webinars how exactly the brain works and what are things that we need to do ourselves in order to work on this. So, and as we go through this, we'll be educating and giving some worksheets on things that hopefully will be able to help you out and rewiring your belief window, your circuit board, whatever it may be, however you want to take a look at it, in order for you not to stay stuck. So let's go on to the brain. The brain here is everything. This is what brings in our interactions, how we interpret social situations, how we interact with other people, how we think, and how we feel. This is a very powerful tool. So the first part of the brain is the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex, when it's working, it goes ahead and as it works, we're looking at attention, judgment. It helps with planning. It impulse control. So you're just like, I have to have that sugar. It says, no, actually we don't. We can grab fruit instead. And follow through. And also empathy. Not only for other people, but for ourselves. If it's not working, this is where inattention can come in. Poor judgment, lack of forethought. I'm just, lack of forethought is, I'm grabbing the sugar, even though I don't think about it. Impulse, procrastination, and lack of empathy. The other part of the brain is the parietal lobe. When it's working right, you can have sense of direction, reading maps, and also a sense of touch, and also a sense of space, like catching a ball. It'll also, you go, oh yeah, I remember exactly where I parked in the Walmart parking lot. When it's not functioning properly, this is where you can get lost. Despite the fact having GPS, and here again, if you get caught in a grocery store parking lot, you're just like, oh my gosh, I do not remember where I parked. So you have oversensitivity to light, touch, and sound as well. So the temporal lobe is our next one that we're going to be talking about. So when the temporal lobe is working, so this is good for memory, mood stability, temper control, so language, listening, reading, and also like music and spiritual experiences as well. And if there's problems, then there's trouble finding words, processing, moodiness, irritability can come in, forgetfulness, poor reading, poor social skills, rhythm problems, and unusual experience. The occipital lobe, which is in the back of the brain, when it's functioning properly, it's more of sees color, sees lines. This is your vision and also seeing in 3D. If there's a problem with it, then of course you have visual problems, visual distortion, color blindness, and also visual hallucinations. So when we look at the inside of the brain, we look at the anterior cingulate gyrate, which is also towards the front, but here again on the inside of the brain. So when it's functioning, what this does is that this acts like the gear shifter in your car. So, and what helps with flexibility, cooperation, kind of go with the flow. You know, those people are just like, yeah, you know, whatever. If my schedule changes, that's okay. They see options. So it's not just stuck in one thing, or even like error correction. When it's not working, we get obsessed. We get stuck. This is where a lot of the stuck comes from. Worries, argumentative, oppositional. A lot of addictions can end up coming from this because we're stuck and we're also very rigid. The deep limbic system, which is there in the center, has, when it's working properly, helps with motivation, mood, attitude, your appetite, and your sleep. Bonding happens with this, whether with animals or people, even with yourself. Sense of smell and your libido. When the limbic system is having problems, of course, you got sleep and appetite issues. There's poor motivation, depression, poor attitude. You tend to isolate. There can be a lack of smell. This does not have to do with COVID. Negativity, guilt, and hopelessness. The basal ganglia, which is kind of like in between the limbic system and your anterior cingulate gyrate. This actually helps set sense of calm on your anxiety levels. It's good to have a little bit of anxiety because this will actually supposed to help motivate you to do something, movement, and it mediates pleasure. So some of your dopamine there. When it's off, you have tension, you're nervous, you predict the worst. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, the asteroid is going to come kill us or something like that. Anxiety, panic, tremors can happen if it gets too high, and also tics. So the cerebellum, which is towards the back and lower from the occipital, but when it functions, this is coordination, motor control, posture. This is where people are just like, yes, you have like the best organizational skills. Judgment and speed of thought. When there's problems, there's poor coordination, poor motor control, unstable posture, disorganized, poor judgment, slow thinking, slow speech, and slow walking. So let's get into a little bit about what happens here. So when we're looking at the brain and how we interact with others, what we want to do here is how exactly are we interacting? Because a lot of self-help books say, oh, well, it's just about you. Well, actually, it's about you and others. How you see yourself and others. How you interact with yourself and others. So this is where this comes in. On the surface, you might want to say, oh, I'm doing this behavior. I eat too much sugar. I worry too much. I don't sleep like I should. I, forget things. But then after that, you're wanting to say, well, but I want to change it. So are you going to be on here again underneath? Are you going to be responsive to that change? Or are you going to resist the change? So this is where we're going to be teaching you systems and on how to be able to be responsive to the change instead of being resistant to it. When you're resistant to change, then that's where you try to justify why you're not wanting to change. Like, oh, I'm going to go out and work out, like 3 days a week. But, oh, well, I still have this came up, that came up, whatever it may be. So you're trying to justify why you're not changing the behavior and why you're wanting to resist it, to even just go out and walking, 3 days a week or something like that. So is there something below the surface on why we're not doing it? Why we keep being stuck? Like we said at the beginning, why is it I have, I can't seem to get rid of my sugar cravings? Why is it I'm always thinking about the worst case scenario? So this is where we're going to be getting into this. All right, so a lot of times what happens is that we have what we call automatic negative thoughts, or what we call ant therapy. With ant therapy, what happens is that our brain seems to like to get into the first thing, negative thoughts. So let's go through and find out what happens. So the first thing is every time we have a thought, our brain releases chemicals. So whenever we have that, we have good thoughts and we have bad thoughts. So let's get into that. Every time you have a mad thought, an unkind thought, a sad thought, or if you're cranky, your brain is going, of course, to release negative chemicals. That's going to make you feel bad. So then that's going to spiral down into other things that go on. So, but if you do it the other way, so every time you have a good thought, a happy thought, you're hopeful or you're kind, your brain releases chemicals that make you feel good. So basically it's which one is it do we want? Do we want the negative chemicals or do we want the positive ones? Well, of course we want the positive ones, but then why is it that we're always stuck in the negative ones? Well, let's find out, because our thoughts are very powerful. So this is why we say that, your brain is the key to like everything, your interactions, how you feel, how your gut's digesting, all this other stuff because of those chemical interactions. So thoughts can lie to us. They do a lot. Our brain likes to fill in the gaps, believe it or not. So if the brain doesn't have some sort of closure, it'll try to grab onto something in order to close the gap in. So an uninvestigated thought or unquestionable thought, a lot of times when the brain tries to close the gap in, we can be sad, mad, nervous, or out of control. So you can train your brain to have positive thoughts. It takes work, but it can be done. We can upset the negative thoughts, upset that flow, and be able to change it. So what are the types of ants or negative thoughts that keep us in this loop? Let's go ahead and find out. One of them is the all or nothing thinking. Everything's bad or everything's good. It's just like, well, if I can't get my book written in a week, then it's not going to happen at all. Or if I can't drop my sugar habit, then it's not going to happen at all in like 3 days. So that's kind of the all or none thinking. So, or we're always thinking, overgeneralizing one bad event. It's just like, oh man, I got a D on my social studies test. Or, I tried to go into this. I was late for my presentation. Great, that means I'm always going to be late, or I'm always going to do bad in social studies or whatever it may be. The other one is focusing on the negative, always seeing a bad situation. So you go walking into a place and you're just like, oh great, they're never going to have my favorite food. It's like, even though sometimes they may be out of your favorite food, you're always thinking they will never have my favorite food in my restaurant because every time I come here, it's never there, when that's not really the case. So the other one is thinking with your feelings. I feel bad. I will always feel bad because of. So every feeling that you have is always what you're thinking. So the next one is guilt beating. I shoulda, coulda, would've. The whole shoulda, coulda, woulda, ought, maybe. So it's like, oh, I should stay late at work so I can get caught up. Oh, I should be at my this birthday party or that party. I should be calling this person or that person. So just kind of like beating ourselves up with, why didn't I? Here again, the shoulda, coulda, would've. So labeling. We label ourselves. Oh, so stupid. Oh my gosh, I just feel like I'm such a jerk. Why did I do that? So we're always attaching negative labels to ourselves. So, and then fortune telling. So as, predicting the worst. It's just, if I end up doing, if I try and start a business, I already know it's going to fail. So, because no one's going to want my product, or no one's going to want my book, or no one's going to want to, hear my presentation at work. So, and then the mind reading aspect is, oh my gosh, my boss was so bored with my presentation. So that's kind of mind reading right there. Trying to think what someone else may be thinking. So that really doesn't help, because maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe they were thinking of something else. But here again, you're thinking, you're assuming. and you're reading someone's mind. The next one is blame. It says, well, I got in a car accident because you texted me. Well, if you're trying to text back, isn't that more of your responsibility not to text someone back and to kind of wait? But always trying to blame someone else for something that is not exactly a good thing. All right, so as we go through these, and they're like, great, okay, well, what am I supposed to do with this stuff now? Now, remember that there are some things that are probably true. So you also have to not only judge that, but you have to put your intuition in it as well. If someone is abusing you, then it's abuse. Your intuition will let you know about that. So that's one thing that you need to take into consideration as we're trying to go through this. So it's like if someone was bullying you, like at work or at a social event or something like that, you need to really pay attention to your intuition on that one and not go through the whole, like guilt, reading someone's mind or something like that. So it takes a little bit of time to kind of separate the two. But it's like but there is a way to know if it's your intuition or if it's just your brain trying to fill in the gaps. All right, so let's work on trying to kill the ants. So how do we end up doing this? So basically, what's your ant? So it basically, here, my coworkers never like me. Could be one of them. Well, that's more of a mind reading type ant. So how do we end up killing that ant? You can tell yourself, I can't tell if my coworker likes me or not. They may be going through a bad day. So another one would be, I'm stupid. I can't get anything done. I should have done, like whatever it may be. That is guilt and also labeling. So next time you say, next time I will make a list before I go to the store to see if I can grab everything. But if I don't grab everything on the list and I forgot something, I'm not stupid. It just means I forgot that one thing. So this is how you try to rewire your brain into saying, no, it's actually not this way. So no, it's like you're not to blame for the volcano erupting. Okay? So type deal. All right, so what happens from this is that this takes work. In order to change the brain, it takes work. So I know for a lot of people, they're on their medications. They say, hey, this is great. But then something may come up and it triggers everything all over again. So this is where the work needs to come in order to change that belief window, your motherboard, however you want to put it. So with the first negative thought that comes into your mind, like, let's say I'm stupid. Say, is it true? Is that really true? Then the second part that you say is it absolutely true that I'm stupid? Well, no, I'm not stupid. So it's just a mistake that happened. Then the third thing is how do I react when I think that thought? Do I really feel like I am stupid? Do I curl up? Do I have shortness of breath? What happens with that? Then the other thought is, who would I be without the thought? How would I feel if I feel like that I'm not stupid? Said, well, I could feel joy, happiness, relaxed. So then add that to it with a positive thought. Is it true? Is it true that you can feel joy and peace? Yes. Is it true that you're not stupid? Is it absolutely true you're not stupid? Yes. How would you think and react to that knowing that you were not stupid? Is, well, I'd feel relaxed and peaceful. So you have to turn the positive in and put that in instead of just trying to rewire the negative. You have to fill it in with the positive. All right, so how do we unchain your brain checklist? 1, we need to stop lying to ourselves. 2, don't believe every stupid thought that comes into your head. Number 3, you have to become familiar with the negative thoughts and be able to retrain it and fill it in with a positive thought. The next step is to envelop internal dialogue for you to be able to talk back to those negative thoughts saying, no, this isn't true. So the other one is do the work to challenge and eliminate the negative thoughts. Here again, this is where the work ends up taking place. So, in conclusion, with our first one, we will have handouts for you that will be on our website. And this, like I said, this is going to take work. This is not something overnight that's going to happen. Again, they're saying like what, 21 days to change a habit. It may take longer than that. And as you go through the process, you will fail along the way. But that's okay. You need to expect it, because what we're doing is we're putting systems in place. Not in order to put that system in, you're going to have to know what works for you, and you will fail. So just to let you know, the greatest learning experiences come in from that. I know that a lot of people are just like, but I want to be, 6 weeks out. I want it now. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So take your time with this. If it takes 6 weeks, if it takes 6 months, it's because it's been ingrained in there for so long. It will take so long in order for those habits to change. Will they go away entirely? No. But along the way, hopefully we can help you add in some more exercises or, switching habits and stuff in order for you to have a system in place, so then that way we can start changing around these thoughts. So if you need to get a hold of us and you want more guidance with this, go ahead and call us at 623-252-0376, or you can visit our website at BurnsIntegrativeWellnessCenter.com. So we look forward to hearing from you, and have a great day.